Hello, and welcome to the Renovation Nation show, brought to you by Red Maples, your go-to source for institutional style property management of small multifamily rentals. I'm your host, Nathan Bush, and each show I share with you lessons I learned from my journey in real estate. I've designed this show to inspire and equip you for your own investing path. On today's episode, we're diving into the only 5 reasons why people buy or lease your property. Whether you're trying to attract buyers or secure long-term tenants, understanding these core motivators are going to make all the difference. I'll break down what actually drives people to choose a property and how you can leverage these insights to make your own investments attractive, profitable, and valuable. If you've ever been frustrated by a property sitting vacant or wondered why others seem to get all the offers, stick around. We're about to explore 5 reasons that truly matter when it comes to buying or leasing, and why these insights could change your approach entirely. Guys, this is a revolutionary episode. This episode is going to blow your mind because these are the real reasons why I find people are buying or leasing property. And remember, if you're watching live, you can drop a question in the comments section. I'll see if I can respond during the show. If not, I'll respond afterwards. I'll tackle as many comments as I can. And for even more content like this, if you'll subscribe to my YouTube channel or head over to www.nathanbushmba.com, you also can check out the description in the show notes for more resources like this to help you with real estate success. All right. So again, revolutionary episode. We are talking today all about the 5 reasons and the only 5 reasons why people will buy or lease your property from you. I want you to think about the popular dating sites like Tinder that are out there right now. Now, I've never participated in any of those types of online dating sites, but just like those dating sites, people are going to swipe right for profiles that stand out and swipe left for profiles that won't stand out. In simple terms, if your listing doesn't highlight the qualities that matter most, it's just another swipe right or swipe left, whatever one gets rid of the profile, guys. And I want you to also consider this. According to NAR, the report they put out, Remodeling Impact Report, did you know that buyers and renters form their impression of your property and within the first 7 to 10 seconds of seeing it? So I think that what I'm about to go through with you right now might have a major impact. And if you do this right, if you understand what I'm teaching, the principles that I'm teaching today, if you understand what I'm trying to accomplish with you today, these 5 reasons will make a major impact in overall your conversion, people showing up to your properties, your listings, the whole 9 yards. You just have to understand the 5 things that I'm talking about. Now, I've leased thousands of properties, well, at least hundreds of properties over my career, thousands of units over my management that I've been responsible for leasing, maybe tens of thousand units responsible for leasing. And I've also sold millions of dollars in products, services, in real estate over my career as well. So I kind of have a little bit of insight into why people buy from me, especially if I do some personal reflection and deep reflection. I often can come across in my own thoughts what worked, what didn't work, why it worked, why I got conversion, why I didn't get conversion. I boiled it down to these 5 things. If you understand these 5 things, guys, you're going to be able to sell literally anything, but your properties will lease faster. They will sell quicker because of these 5 things. So please, get these things down. They're critical. They're going to help you in every which way. Now, I've heard a number of things over my career from investors, from partners, and whatever. When they say things to me like, I've spent thousands of dollars, I've spent $20,000, $30,000, $40,000 on this property, and it's still on the market. Maybe that's you. Has it ever been you? You ever invested $20,000, $30,000, $40,000 in a property and not be able to figure out why the thing's not leasing or selling? Or maybe you say this to your property manager or to your real estate agent or to yourself, I can't just keep lowering the price, right? These are the types of things that I hear all of the time. And it's just because the investor or the seller or whoever just don't understand these 5 things that I'm going to cover with you. You know, I also hear this a lot of times too. There's been a lot of showings, but no movement. Has it ever been the case with you? I don't know if you've ever been through that or not. What do you do? Well, you have to understand there's a reason. There's 5 reasons why people are not buying from you. There's 5. And if you know these 5 reasons, again, they're going to make all the difference in the world. Maybe people aren't showing up to their appointments with you. Or maybe you say this all the time. It's just a bad market right now. And you're blaming the market. Look, none of these excuses are reasons why people are buying from you. It's not price, mostly. It's not how much you've invested into the property. It's not people are lazy and they don't show up. It's not the market. Or maybe you say this, it's all about location, location, location. This property is in a good location. Why is it not selling, leasing, whatever? It's not about location. So if it's not about price and it's not about location and it's not about how much you've invested into it and it's not about the prospect just not showing up and it's not about the market, what is it about? Well, there's 5 things that you have to understand in order to make the conversion work. There's 5 things. And the first one I'll tell you right after my sponsor. First sponsor of this show is BBC Global Services, and we are grateful for our partnership with BBC Global Services. They're an outsourcing organization for real estate investors. If you need help with administrative tasks, check out BBC Global Services for a free consultation with no obligation, and you can find them at www.bbcglobalservices.com. I promised you the 5 reasons people buy, and we are going to start with number 1. They like you. What? You mean I actually got to have a personal interaction with people? People have got to actually like me? Well, not only do they need to like you, but it's deeper than that. There's a sense of know, like, and trust that has to be established with the client right up front. We build this trust through 4 different principles that guide if people like you or not. People like you because of your ability to connect, your connection. If you think about your interactions with your potential buyers or tenants, are you investing significant amounts of time in building a connection? What do you do to build that connection? Are you building connection in your listing? Are you building connections in your conversation? Are you building connection with the property and the potential buyer? Connection's key. There's a number of different ways to connect. Connection is something you can learn how to do. And I teach connection like this. We all have a set of things that we like, and people like stuff like themselves. For instance, if you like rock music, you'll probably connect to somebody else who likes rock music and they have bands that they typically follow. You might follow a lot of those same bands. That forms an essential bond or connection. Sometimes people have certain books that they read or genres that they appreciate. Sometimes it's about specific news stations that they watch that you can make a connection with, or a brand of clothing that somebody's wearing that you also wear. It's something that you have in common. It's a common point of interest that helps to establish a connection. That's not the only way to connect, but it's a critical way of connecting, of finding some type of common point of interest. The second way you build trust, though, outside of just this connection, is building a connection around common values. See, core values are more than just things you write up on a board in an office somewhere. They're actually things that your organization should be living out, demonstrating, and having conversations with potential buyers and clients with. So my question to you is, do you establish connection and do you demonstrate and talk about core values with people so they can connect with you? If you can demonstrate these core values and establish a connection, then you're basically halfway there to building trust with the client. Can you build these connections? Can you demonstrate these connections and core values inside of your listings, inside of the property itself that builds a connection with the client? See, these are all things that will help them to know, like, and trust you more. So if liking you is important and establishing trust is done through connection and core values, and that's half of the way to building trust, then how do you complete the trust, and how do you ensure that they have that sense of know, like, and trust with you? Well, there's two more common elements. The next common element to establishing this trust is a level of care and compassion and understanding. The person on the other side needs to know that you actually care and see that you actually care about them. Doing things that demonstrate care for that person. Like if you meet them at the property, opening the door for them. And if it's not you, making sure that you follow up with that person to ask how their experience was after they've toured a property, or following up with their agent to ensure that the agent understands that you care about them by following up with them and asking what their experience was like. And then after you establish care, so you have connection, common values, and care, the last way you establish trust, there's 4 C's to this trust, and this is the 4th way, is called consistency. Not just having one interaction with somebody, but having consistent interactions with people over a period of time. And when people show interest in your property, are you being consistent in your follow-up and in your conversations to ensure that they're having more than just one interaction with you? Are you available on your schedule or theirs? These things all are core elements. They're 4 core elements that establish trust to help people like you better. On this show, we talk about values-based investing to establish know, like, and trust. On this show, I try to provide resources of value for you to demonstrate care. On this show, I try to do it every Friday for you at noon. And so I have consistency with the audience of following up week after week. And I try to establish connections by sharing things that I believe would be common points of interest that we all want to talk about. And with that, I hope that you see that that's the way that you establish trust. So number 1, the first reason why people buy from you, and I consider it a critical reason about why people buy from anyone, is because they know, like, and trust you. They like you. Reason number 1 is they like you. All right, let's talk about the second reason. If you're joining online and you're just dialing in, we're talking about the only 5 reasons why people lease or buy your property. And these 5 reasons are so critical. They are what I have found over my career as the common elements about why people buy. The first one being they like you. The second reason why people buy from you is everyone else is doing it. Now, everyone else is doing it is not a statement of mass waves of demand, because you can create demand for something. I think that it's a common myth to say that the market is the problem. You can create your own market for a specific property. So everyone else is doing it is a mantra or a philosophy that I use that does 3 things. Number 1, it reminds me of Economics 101, supply and demand. When the supply is high, the demand is low. When the demand is high, the supply is low. Do you guys remember this from economics class? Well, if you remember this from economics class, then you understand that this is a critical philosophy to filling or buying a property. See, people have to feel a sense of demand for the property. Now, I'm not talking about creating false demands or false urgency, but demand does create urgency. So it's critical that you're doing things that help other people see that they're not the only one interested in that property. Think about this. You're a business owner, and there's a trade show coming up. That trade show is on the 31st of December. Okay, it's going to ring in the new year. And that trade show, the salesperson contacts you and lets you know that there's only 2 booths left for a show that you already wanted to attend, and that there's a special discount before the end of November because they're trying to fill their last 2 booths. They've had an overwhelming response from emails that went out, and you were one of the people that signaled interest, that you're interested in this trade show booth. You have a decision to make. It's either yes or no. And so that's critical in this concept of everybody else is doing it, is everybody else is doing it helps the buyer be brought to a decision that there's a limited supply of this amazing product that's available. And once it's gone, it's gone. You don't have any more available. Well, you don't have any other property that's that specific unit at that location in that features and benefits that that property offers. It's an impossibility. There's only one unit of its kind available, period. And so learning and understanding how to cultivate that sense of urgency around the key benefits of that specific property helps people to understand why everybody else wants that. Other ways of building this everybody else is doing it philosophy is integrating reviews and testimonials and referrals. I mean, we all know that it's easier to sell a referral than it is to sell a, cold prospect off the street. That's why cold calling, it makes a lot of salespeople shiver, is because they don't know how to build these 5 reasons quickly while they're having conversations with other people on the phone. So they can't warm up the prospect to actually be able to purchase. And so we know that referrals create a sense of everybody else is doing it. Well, so do reviews and testimonials. That's why it's so critical to have testimonials, people that support you, being able to provide somebody with a contact of somebody they can contact and say, yes, this person does business with me as well. Or here's some statements that are put out online of people who do business with us that love doing business with our organization. Testimonials, reviews, referrals. This creates and cultivates this sense of everybody else is doing it. So everybody else is doing it does 3 things. Number 1, it emphasizes the demand supply conversation that you learned in Economics 101. Number 2, it creates demand and urgency. And number 3, it helps remind us that we need to be collecting reviews, testimonials, and referrals. So if you can see that they like you and you've cultivated this sense and feeling with the buyer that everybody else is doing it, then why aren't they buying? Well, you might be missing on some core elements about why people buy. Before I get into those other 3 elements about why people buy, the other 3 reasons why people buy, I have to take a second to thank my second sponsor, Web Insurance. Let Web Insurance be your guide. What their clients love about them at Web Insurance is that every single year they shop your insurance to see that you're with the most affordable carriers, with the most appropriate coverages. They're a specialist in the 1099 realm. So if you are a real estate agent or you are a contractor and you receive your income via 1099, let Web Insurance be your guide. Whether you need a real estate quote or an auto quote, head over to www.webinsurance.com to get more information. Thank you, Web Insurance, for being my second sponsor of the show. So we've just discussed the fact that everybody else is doing it and they like you. Those are 2 of the 5 reasons and the only 5 reasons why people buy. Now let's talk about the 3rd reason, a wow factor. Yes, you've invested tons of money into your property. You've done all of the updates and everything that you can think of possibly. But here's the thing. Does your property stand out with something that says, wow? I'll give you a perfect scenario of this. A number of years ago, we used to do this process. I don't know if this process still works today, but it worked back then. We used to do something in our apartments called mini models. So I'm a apartment lease certified. I received my certification in apartment lease professional. I'm a licensed real estate agent. Not only that, but I told you I've leased hundreds myself and overseen thousands of properties being leased over my career. I've sold millions of dollars worth of services, products, and real estate. And so I'm here to tell you everything needs a wow factor in order for people to buy it. So they might buy it because they like you. They might buy it because everybody else is doing it, but you're missing a critical factor if you don't have a wow factor. And you've got to identify that wow factor as the consultant, as the salesperson, as the advisor, as the real estate agent? What is the wow factor that leads the other person to say, this is one of a kind? There's a sense of urgency as to why I need to buy this product or service, property, piece of real estate. It's critical that you understand this wow factor, because the stuff I'm teaching you today is the critical things as to why people buy from you. If you want to know how to get more sales and anything that you're doing, this is the way to do it. I'm just tailoring this conversation towards real estate, and there has to be a wow factor, something that differentiates you, something that makes you unique, special, the reason everybody else wants to do it, right? We talked about this with identifying the features and benefits of a specific piece of property as to identifying why everybody else would want to be doing it, but then also the wow factor. Are you manufacturing a wow factor within the property? I was talking for a second about mini models. This is where you go in and put in coordinated mini stagings inside of a property. You're not actually doing furniture, but you're doing some ancillary items, like you might hang pictures on the wall, or you might put bath towels and dish towels in, and the curtain rod, and make sure that the property staged properly. So when they walk in, the person sees that it does this. It's clean, safe, and functional. Number two, that there's something unique about the property that they won't get if they don't buy. And number three, there's an experience that they're experiencing that makes them say, wow. So clean, safe, and functional is the basics of wow. If your property is not clean, safe, and functional, if the prospect walks into the property and they identify issues that could be safety issues, or they identify issues of something not functioning properly, their likelihood of buying that property or renting that property go down tremendously. Everybody wants something clean, safe, and functional. That doesn't create the wow factor. That's the bare minimum. If they walk in and they see paint buckets all over the property, or they see that there's holes in the drywall, they're still going through patching, or there's a hole in the ceiling, this is not clean, safe, and functional. The oven doesn't work. They can see that a light's not working properly. There's water in the basement. These are all things that the prospect will turn right around and say, nope, this isn't for me. So they got to like you. They got to see everybody else is doing it. And there has to be a wow factor above and beyond clean, safe, and functional. And I mean, this is appropriate too to products or services. The product has to be clean, safe, and functional. It can't look like a disaster. It can't be packaged inappropriately. Same thing with your service. If your service online is not highlighted properly, or in your marketing or in your conversations doesn't feel clean, safe, and functional, people won't buy from you. So there has to be something above that. They have to feel that first, and then there has to be a wow factor. People are like, well, the property's clean. It looks pretty. Well, just because it looks pretty doesn't mean somebody's going to buy it. What is the wow factor? Sometimes the wow factor is a location. If it's a destination property and it happens to be on the beach and it has unique views that you can't get anywhere else, then that makes sense. There's a wow factor from the view. One of our properties, I'll tell you here locally, that we created a wow factor for, that got the property lease instantly after it had been on the market for like 15 days and wasn't moving, was we had our maintenance techs go in and install tech packages. It was pretty simple tech packages. We installed programmable thermostats, some Bluetooth speakers. We introduced a Bluetooth light bulb. We got a couple of the outlets switched over so that they could charge their phones, and creates phone chargers for them. And it was just a small mini tech package that we were able to highlight and market in all of our marketing and have conversations about. But that tech package created a sense of wow on a property that wasn't that unique. In fact, that property was in South City, was part of a duplex or triplex. I can't remember which one it was now. Probably a duplex. I think it was a duplex. But it was in South City, and it was able to, it flew off the market right after that, because those were things that prospect couldn't get anywhere else. A wow factor. Think about this now. If you're able to cultivate a experience, I mean, if you think about back in the olden days with the open houses of the real estate agents, where they were baking cookies in the oven, the property looked clean. Is there something about the property that's unique? Does it have a theater room? Is there a pool at the property that there's no other pools available? You got to think about what is the wow factor that you can highlight and point out is part of the process of having a conversation. So if they like you, you've created a sense of urgency because everybody else is doing it. You've relied on the tension between supply and demand, and you have the reviews and testimonials. You have walked through this wow factor. Things are clean, safe, and functional. There's a fourth element as to why people buy from you. And this fourth element is the logic reason. So the wow factor is the emotional reason. The next factor is the logical reason. Right. So they like you. Number 2, there's urgency and demand. Number 3, there's emotion. Number 4, there's logic. And what is the logic reason that people buy from you? Well, it's got to make sense. It's got to make sense to them. Nobody's going to move into a school district that they don't want to be in. Nobody's going to move into a property that is not near their favorite restaurant or not near their work. It's got to make logical sense for them. Logical sense is not just location. It's also got to make financial sense for them. They've got to be able to justify the increased price because of the proximity to their work, or they got to be able to justify the increased price. It's got to make business sense to them because there's an economic benefit for them living in that property. Maybe they're saving some money or they're upgrading their lifestyle. And so these things all make sense to somebody. They can justify them logically. Now, as a salesperson, as a consultant, as an advisor, as a real estate agent, whatever you want to call yourself, they got to know, like, and trust you. Everybody else has got to be doing it. There has to be that sense of urgency. There's got to be the wow factor, and then it's got to make sense. Guys, this has got to be manufactured in your presentation. You have every aspect of what you're doing has got to include these 5 elements because you don't know which one it is that they're going to buy from. All I know is that when they don't buy, one of these 5 elements was probably missing. And you didn't uncover it with the prospect along their journey. So they like you. Everybody else is doing it. There's a wow factor for emotion. It makes sense logically. And then there's a 5th reason. Now, this 5th reason is the only one that takes some skill as a salesperson. This actually requires you as a salesperson to practice, refine, and do a better job. But everything else, well, this is all reasons why people buy from their perspective. Now, the 5th reason why people buy is from your perspective or from the salesperson's perspective. And that's this. There's no reason not to buy. You've removed every barrier and obstacle for the person to making the purchase. I'll give you a perfect example from a recent lease that I did. So I had a prospect that when it came up total, they owed $2,100 to be able to move into one of our properties. And they were trying to hang up the phone. They wanted the property. It was clean, safe, and functional. It made sense to them. They understood everybody else was doing it, and they liked me. So all 4 things were taken care of. There was only one reason why they couldn't do it. Number 5, if I would have let them walk at this point, it would have been because I didn't remove their excuse. Their excuse to me was they only had $1,200 to move in. So it's going to be $2,100 to move in. They only had $1,200 to move in. What did I do? I restructured their move-in so it could be more affordable for them. Now, I worked the deal out. I worked it out with the broker. I worked the deal out with the owner of the property. I got all proper approvals in order to be able to set them up for success so that we didn't have any issues. We extended the lease term. We gave them a month's worth of free rent, and everything worked out the appropriate way for that tenant to be able to move into that property. But I had to work the deal out. I had to solve the problem. There was a reason that they weren't going to be able to move in, and that was they only had $1,200 saved when it was going to be $2,100 to move in. If you let that excuse stop you, it will stop them from buying. And so they had a reason. I had to remove their reason. You have to remove your prospects' reasons as to why they're not buying from you. You know, I love the quote from Zig Ziglar. and it's one of Lee Fjord. If you go back and watch my previous episode, I had Lee Fjord on the show, who is a apartment turnaround expert and has syndicated over 1,000 units. And he lives by this philosophy and this quote. And I love this for this show because it's so true as to why people buy, and that you can have everything in life you want. Zig Ziglar said this. You can have everything in life you want if you're just willing to help enough other people get what they want first. And so that's why I did this show for you guys today. I put this show on to help you understand the 5 reasons why people buy anything. So no matter who you are or where you are, you can use this information to help you in your influence and move people to action on your property so that you can improve your real estate business. Guys, we got to get people buying from us. That's important, right? And there's only 5 reasons they're going to buy from you. Number 1, they know, like, and trust you. Number 2, everybody else is doing it. Number 3, there's an emotional wow factor that the person just can't get over. Number 4, it makes logical sense. And number 5, there is no reason not to buy. You've removed every excuse. And if you do that, Renovation Nation, that will take your sales to a whole new level. I hope you enjoyed this show. And that wraps up another episode of Mind Renovation Nation. Thank you for joining us on this journey of real estate business growth. Remember, just like plants need the right environment, your mind needs the right conditions to build a life of purpose and passion. And don't forget to subscribe to my YouTube channel, join my email list, and share this episode with a friend who is as passionate about real estate business growth as you are. I'll leave you with this thought, guys. In the journey of Mind Renovation Nation, it is about more than personal success. It's about values-based investing. Let's be stewards not only of our finances, but of our values and vision for a better future. I'm going to sign off today from the heart of St. Louis. Stay blessed, stay inspired, and remember, every day is a chance to renovate your nation. Thanks, guys.